All right, ladies and gentlemen, level 4, you've been missing in action throughout. This is the second week, right? Yeah. Where have you been? Right? Why haven't you? Why have you been staying away? Okay. Thank God you are here today, right? So I would like to start this lecture by first of all giving gratitude to God, right? We need to thank God for being with us, taking care of us to be able to go and observe our holidays and come back. Now we are here again. We thank Him for everything and we commit whatever we're going to do today into His hands and we humbly implore Him to give us His wisdom to direct us. Right? It's very important. Anything you want to do in life, you must give gratitude to God and commit everything to His hands. Right. Most especially like you are doing level 4, the final year. Being at the final year is not something that is easy, right? You got a lot of commitment. You got a lot of work to do. You know, when you are running a race for 1,005 kilometers, relay, we call it a relay. The first round, what you're gonna be doing? Just going gently, gently, gently. Now, when you go to the last relay, the last one, no matter what, you buckle up and run. Even if you are tired, you say, no, I'm gonna get to the finish line. So you are close to the finish line. Every day now, we are getting closer to your finish line. So you need to brace up yourself, right? You need to brace up. Make sure that you give your all. Give it all you see, give it all your utmost best, right? So that when the exam is finished, the result come, you've seen the result, or the result is out, or whenever the result is out, then you smile, you say, yes, I did my best. Then you glorify God. When I was like you, it was the same. When I was in high school, like you, my final year was not a joke. I didn't joke with it. And make sure that I sacrifice. And by the grace of God, the sacrifice paid off. So it's the same advice I'm giving you now. Don't play, because there will be no time like this for you again. This is your golden opportunity. Please leverage the opportunity to become what you want to become. You see the class now, they are not attending. They think it's a joke. It's not a joke. Failure starts like this, from this type of attitude. Right. Okay, guys, let's turn the story now. Change the story back to where we were. Today, we are going to discuss past question paper that you did, your test 2, right? Most of you did well, and some of you couldn't do well. I was surprised at level 4. Some people don't know what stakeholders mean. They couldn't identify stakeholders from the case study. Level 4, surprising. It's not supposed to be like that. Okay, remember this term, you're gonna do what we call ISET. Very soon, I'm just waiting for the hard copy to be printed. I'm gonna give you your ISET. Then you work on it. Then you're gonna do the final internal exam as part of your ICAS. Very soon. That will be perhaps maybe September. right? But your I said must be done in August, right? So what I'm going to be doing now, because I've covered most of it. Yes, I think the topic that is remaining, although I've covered part of it, is evaluation. We haven't done risk risk management, right? Risk management is not difficult. I know you've done it in operations management, but we're gonna still repeat it here in project management. Then the last topic, which is evaluation, is we've already done part of it, right? Like the principles of evaluation and all those stuff. We've done it, and it came out 2 years. So we're still gonna touch those areas. So thereafter, we're gonna be making mostly use of past question paper. We'll mostly be making use of past question papers. Then I'm gonna send you a lot of past question papers with memo that can assist you. Then during your private time, you look at the past question papers, then you review it with the memo, with the marking guidelines. I believe that can help you very well. So now this is the question paper. These are the questions that you were asked during your June exam. This one is multiple choice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to read it and just give you the answer. I'm going to explain to you. I want you to know why, or after my explanation, you can be able to know yourself what the answer is. Right. So, in other words, I'm going to explain with some other stuff so that you can be able to understand what it means and whatever aspect of your scheme, your project, lessons that is related to it. We said the is what happens when changes are made to project scope without any control procedure like a change request. Right. That is what happens when changes are made to the project scope without any control procedure like a change request. Okay, here now we are talking about scope. Scope is very important. Level 3 question paper, there was scope. Level 4, the scope. To tell you scope in a project is very important. Right. When you are, or before you set out to execute your project, at the beginning, which is the initiation stage, that is where you define the scope at the beginning, in the sense that you need to outline what needs to be done, right? You need to know what needs to be done, right? The extent to which things needs to be done. Let me put it or emphasize on that. Scope is about the what needs to be done, not only what needs to, the extent to which things are going to be done. That means scope, it sets out the parameters, the dimension within which things needs to be done. Right. Yeah. Okay. So it defines the dimensions. For example, when somebody have given you dimensions, you know now your limit, the scope. Yeah, which of course is the scope, right? It's the same thing in project management. In project management, when somebody have given you the dimension of what needs to be done, the extent to which things needs to be done, it has given you this scope. That extent, in other words, refers to as the scope. Right. When you are running a project, possibly there can be certain changes that can come along. We call it scope creep, which were not planned for. So what you need to do is you need to follow a formal channel, right? What is that channel for you to be addressed or for you to address such scope change or scope creep? There is what we call change request order. Change request. You discover that there is a need for you to change or to amend a certain task different from what was ordained before, different from what was uh, contained or what was specified before. What do you need? Okay, what do you need to do now? You write a request. This task needs to be replaced with this task, right? Because if you are, for example, if I'm a project manager, you are team members, right? I've given you task and responsibility to do. Now, on your own, you discover that what was specified is no longer what is read, or there is problem with what was specified for you to do. Then you don't just have to change it. You must write a request, a formal request. That formal request needs to be sent to the project manager. Then the project manager needs to send it to the sponsor, because any change request in a project got financial implications, right? So once the sponsor approves that it's possible, they are going to finance it, or they are happy with it, then such change can be made. That is why I said there must be a procedure. It's not something that you just take matters into your hands. You say, this thing is not working, let me just try to put in another one. No. Project managers must know about it, as well as the sponsors. So they've got a formalized way of doing it that involves what we call change request form. There's a form that needs to be completed. So we said that is what happens when changes are made to the project scope without any control procedure like change request. So that one is a scope planning. You see, it's scope planning. So there is no change request that is involved. Right. Okay, we say dash activity include testing, monitoring, conformance to specification, right? And reporting on variances. What is that? You know what we call quality control. You know quality control, right? Quality control, it involves all these processes, all these activities. You test it to see whether it's up to standard, right? You test it to see whether it's up to what is required. Then monitoring performance to specification. Well, when we say monitoring, right, you are monitoring the performance to see if it conform with what is required, which is the specification. What is required is contained in the specification or the standard. And reporting on variances. What do we mean by variances? Variances is always talking about differences, right? For example, in the specification, they say, okay, this is what you need to do. Let me give you a typical example. Let's say you are building a house, right? They say the window must be uh, aluminum, right? You know, aluminum window. That was what was specified at the beginning. Then all of a sudden now, perhaps the client discovered that aluminum is expensive. They cannot be able to finance aluminum. Then they later came back, they say, okay, let's put a window, wooding window. You know wood. You know wooden window, right? Okay. So you see now the cost of aluminum window is different from a window made up of wood. So there is a variance now in terms of the specification, in terms of adhering to what is in the specification. Right. That could constitute a variance. Right. Another thing that could constitute a variance is this. For example, they say, okay, the ceiling, the painting for the ceiling, let's put two coats. Two coats of paint. You paint first round, then later you add another coat. So you discover that, okay, maybe the specification was saying it's two coats. Now you discover that even the place is not so rough. If you put one coat, it's gonna work, rather than wasting money putting two coats. Then you put one coat. There's a variation now. There's a variance, which is different. What you've done now is different from what was specified. Right. Or let me give you another example. The same example of painting. They say, okay, put one coat. Now you got there, you discover that when you put one coat, it's not going to do the work. Right. So what are you going to do? Will you just start putting two coats? No, there is a need for a change request. Right? Change request in terms of what now? To add requesting the project manager if you could add a second code, because you've seen that you've added the first code is not doing the job. You see what I mean? So by virtue of that, you collect a change request form, which is in the template, you complete it, then there you describe it, the nature of the change, and why you want the change to be done. If it is possible for you to calculate the cost, you say, okay, the cost of the former one was this, the new one that is going to be done now, the amendment, then this is the cost. So the project manager should be able to calculate the cost, then advise the sponsor. So the sponsor, if they feel that they've got extra money to put additional one coat, then they give the go ahead. It's when the sponsors approve it, then the project manager will ask you, that is uh, the one that is the team member that is doing the job, to effect the change. Did you see? That is how it goes. So the variance now is the difference between what was required and what was being done. That is another example. But this example here now, they are talking about quality. Quality. There is a standard, specifications that have been given. This is what you must do, right? You've gone there now, you do what was not required. So one is to compare what you have done to what was set out as per the standard requirements. There you can see the difference. The difference between what was done and what was supposed to have been done. So that is this is quality control. Right. Identify a core problem, which is root causes and symptom. Right. Which is root causes and symptom. What do we call that one? Right? When you are identifying a problem, a core problem, which is root causes, what are we trying to talk about? For you to be able to analyze a problem, right, you must know the causes. If you don't know the cause of a problem, how are you going to be able to fix it? You must know where the problem is. We call it problem analysis, right? You know the causes and the symptom. The symptoms. What are the signs, right, that are associated with that problem? And what is causing the problem? That is what was required there. Zita, I see you got a good mark, man. Yeah, you did well. You did well. Hey, what is this now? That is problem analysis. Okay, you see, Dash ensure that a project is adjusted, right, or refined if changes become necessary, which is scope change control. We've already talked about that. You see, two questions are coming out from there, right? 1.5, any tangible support such as working staff, right, material, and equipment in the performance of a project, right? What do we call that? Any tangible support such as working, these are resources. Does it make sense to you? Right. Project warehouses are built for the poor, right? Then, and sport development program are called, you see, this one is very easy for you to know. They've already mentioned the development, right? Huh? Project warehouses are built for the poor, and sport development program are called what? Right? What is it called? Let me see what is it. Because there are two stuff there now that are synonymous. They said, where is it? Which one we were doing just now? Is this the correct one or what? Is this? Where is it? 1.6. Because can be development. 1.6C. Okay, develop. Yeah, that development is right. So what were you saying? What were you saying? Development. Community, yeah. You say project where warehouses are built for the poor and sport development program are called development project. Yeah, but if it is a question, because when you look at it, when you say community, right? Because it's not all sport development project are for the community, for that specific area. That is why they say development project. Right. So that serve as a reminder of activity and tasks that must be undertaken and stated by when they must be done. Right. What is that? Schedule. Let me see. Because some of these things, 1.7. Oh, where is it? What is wrong with this thing? Schedule. Because it's schedule that. What is wrong with this thing? Schedule, right? Then a meeting schedule as needed when a specific topic must be discussed. What is that one? Okay, let me explain to you this, right? Rather than just giving you the answers. Remember, I said before, I don't want to be giving you the answers. I'm deviating now, right? Okay. When we say technical projects, technical projects are projects that involve highly skilled technical know-how, right? For example, if you want to build a nuclear station, that one require a lot of skills, right? You need to engage somebody that is a nuclear scientist. And for you to get a nuclear scientist is not easy. And for somebody to be qualified as a nuclear scientist is not easy. So it requires a lot of technical work, right? For example, now if you have a project of building a spacecraft that is going to space, that one require a lot of technical work. So those ones can be classified as technical. Business is a kind of a project that involves, or yeah, it's a kind of a project. In most cases, you can see it within the business environment or a business undertaking a project within the business setup, whereby at the end of the day, the purpose of doing the project is to make money, right? Is to make money. For example, on commercial basis, then that one you can classify it as a business project. You are doing the project in order to generate money to serve the to serve the people, might not necessarily be a specific community, but to make money as well, profit oriented. Then we talked in terms of development project is to, just like we've got here now, right? To uplift the standard of people in the community. Okay, this community project is like this. The difference between that development project and the community project. The community project is restricted within the community. It can even be community-based project, right? Projects that are being generated or raised by the community and supported by either the government or like certain other sponsors that can assist them in realizing the project. That is what we mean by community development project, right? For example, like soup kitchen, all those type of small projects can be classified as a community project. Then this question 1.7, does serve, okay, we said schedule. Okay, now let's try to see the difference between schedule, progress report, minutes, and Gantt chart. Right? Because we need to know these tools for you to be able to distinguish between the tools. Then Gantt chart, you know what is a Gantt chart, right? Gantt chart is used to do scheduling. You use a Gantt chart to schedule activities. In a Gantt chart, you got the activities, right? Then you got the durations in terms of how long the respective activities needs to take. And when you sum it up, it gives you the effective duration of the project, right? That is a Gantt chart. And if somebody asks you, what is the importance of a Gantt chart, right? The Gantt chart helps you to know when to start and finish the project, right? It's a scheduling tool, it's a planning tool that helps you to know what needs to be done, right? You can use a Gantt chart as well to allocate responsibilities. You can use it to allocate resources. You can as well use Gantt chart to estimate. You know, you can use Gantt chart to estimate the cost of the project because in the Gantt chart it tells you what needs to be done, right? It gives you an indication of when those things needs to be done, right? From there you can be able to allocate resources based on what needs to be done. You can as well factor in how much it's gonna cost you. You can use it to prepare your estimate. You understand what I mean? It can as well help you to track the progress of your project. You know what I mean by tracking? To track the progress. At a certain point in time, it gives you that leeway, that capability, where you can be able to see where you are at a certain point in time. Remember the Gantt chart is you got durations, you got timeline, right? For example, if you have a Gantt chart for a project of 4 weeks, right? By week 1 or week 2, you should be able to see, to track it, to see where you are, right? You compare your progress, right? You compare what you've done against what you plan to do for you to see whether you are really on track. So Gantt chart can help you to achieve such objective. Does it make sense to you? Right. Gantt chart, yeah. So those are some of the goodies, the merits of a Gantt chart. Then, when you look at minutes of meetings, right? These are notes that are being taken when you are doing the conducting the meeting or any engagement. So that minutes of meetings, as we said, it got its own importance as far as the management of a project is concerned, right? Because when you take minutes in a meeting of, it can help you to remember what was discussed, right? It can as well serve as an evidence. You know what I mean by an evidence? Somebody can deny, say, we didn't say so. Then what you're gonna do to prove that something like that was said as an evidence? You say, look at it in the minutes of meeting. Is there? So it's a kind of you can assist in the documentation of evidence as a witness, right? Then progress report. What do we mean by progress report? It's a kind of a report that contain the extent to which you've done in your project, right? What you've done so far in the project. Then you can put it down in form of a report, which is very important because if you don't track the progress in a project, at the end of the day, you might end up not executing the project as per the timeline or in conformity with the timeline. You see, you need to monitor your progress to know whether you are doing well. So, during the course of monitoring your project or monitoring the progress of your progress, if perhaps you discover that your project is not running the way it should be or is running behind schedule, let me put it that way. When you discover that your project is running behind schedule, what is going to do? You need to quickly make an adjustment, right? In order to bring the project back on track, right? So that is what you do. There are various ways to do that. One, you can increase the usage of resources. You put more resources for you to come back to. For example, if your project is delayed, right? It's getting delayed. You can put more resources to speed up the project. So that is what we can talk about in this context as far as the progress report is concerned. And it's very important. And progress report must be factual because it can help the stakeholders in making decisions. Then schedule, you know about that. Then a meeting scheduled as needed, right? When a specific topic must be discussed and a decision must be taken that cannot wait for the next meeting. We call that one ad hoc. Ad hoc. This one. This one. Ad hoc. That is the answer. You see, ad hoc. An ad hoc meeting is this. For example, we are running a project, right? Then there came an emergency. We cannot wait because you see, in a project, you got specific days for different meetings. You always have a schedule that progress report meeting gonna be every two weeks or could be every 1 week, right? Where you discuss what have been achieved as well as the challenges and the way forward, right? We will always discuss that during the progress report meeting, which could be weekly or monthly, right? If it is weekly, when those things are tabled,